When does it make sense to sell your home and use the equity to purchase a new one? And when does it make sense to hold onto your home and turn it into an income-producing rental? Brand the Mortgage Man here, and I've helped more than 10,000 home buyers over my 22-year career, putting me in the top 1% of loan originators nationwide. And with nearly 60% of mortgages in the US having rates below 4%, combined with home equity being at a record high, many homeowners are asking that question. In this video, I'm going to discuss key factors you must look at when making this decision, such as return on equity, capital gains, and your local market. I'll also show you how to analyze and determine what makes sense, renting versus selling, using a real-life scenario. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the key factors that you need to consider. So key factor number one is return on equity. And return on equity in real estate is a financial metric used to measure the profitability of an investment property relative to the amount of equity that has been invested into that property. It helps real estate investors assess how efficiently their invested capital is generating profits. ROE essentially tells you how much profit you're making for every dollar of equity you have in the property. It also allows investors to gauge how well their equity is working for them in comparison to other investment opportunities, such as stocks, bonds, or other real estate investments. So how do you calculate the ROE? Well, the formula for calculating ROE is the following. ROE equals the net income, or the return from the property, divided by the equity invested multiplied by 100. So this is where the net income of the return refers to the annual profit generated from the property, which can include rental income minus operating expenses, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and mortgage payments. It could also consider capital gains from the appreciation when the property is sold. So equity invested is the portion of the property's value that the investors own outright, the original down payment plus any additional principal payments made on the mortgage. It's the difference between the property's current market value and any remaining mortgage balance. So for example, let's say you have a rental property with a current market value of $500,000. You've made a down payment of $100,000 and have $50,000 in principal payments on the mortgage. So your equity in that property is $150,000. If it generates $15,000 in annual rental income after expenses, your ROE would be calculated by taking $15,000 divided to $150,000 and multiply that by 100, which gives 10%. This means you're earning a 10% return on the equity you've invested in the property. So you would want to determine whether or not you can sell your property and get a greater return than 10% on your money. If you can, you may determine that renting your home does not make sense. ROE is a simple and effective way to measure the profitability of your real estate investment relative to the equity you've put into it, and it can help guide investment decisions and performance evaluations. Key factor number two is capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is a tax on profit you make when you sell something for more than you paid for it. In the context of real estate, it applies when you sell a property, like a house, for more than the price you originally bought it for, and the difference is considered your capital gain. So for example, if you bought a house for $200,000 and later sold it for $250,000, your capital gain would be $50,000. This $50,000 profit is what the government taxes, though the exact rate can depend on how long you've owned the property. So there are two types of capital gains tax. You have short-term capital gains tax, and that's if you sell the property within a year of buying it, the gain is going to be taxed at the same rate as your regular income. However, there's long-term capital gains tax as well. And if you've owned the property for more than a year, your gain is taxed at a lower rate, which is generally going to be more favorable. And you may actually be exempt from capital gains tax on the sale of your primary residence if you meet certain conditions. And your primary residence is the property that you live in year-round. The IRS actually offers a primary residence exemption that allows you to exclude up to $250,000 of the gain, double that for married couples, from taxation as long as you have lived in the home for at least 2 of the last 5 years before the sale. If you're at risk of being hit with a large tax, it's something you need to consider when deciding between selling your home or renting it out. Key factor number 3 is your market. Analyzing your local real estate market is crucial when deciding whether to rent or sell a property because market conditions directly affect your potential return on investment, your ROI. as well as your financial goals and risks. Analyzing your local real estate market before deciding to rent or sell helps you make an informed decision that aligns with your financial goals. Factors like current market conditions, meaning buyers versus seller market, rental demand, potential appreciation, costs, and tax implications all play a role in determining which option will provide the highest return on investment or the least amount of risk. By evaluating your specific market, you can decide whether selling now will be your better return, whether renting a property will provide long-term income and potential future appreciation. Now, here's why this is so important. Understanding market conditions and supply and demand is key. A seller market versus a buyer's market can make all the difference. In a seller's market, there are more buyers than available properties, which often drives up home prices. If you're considering selling, this could mean higher offers and a faster sale. On the other hand, in a buyer's market, there are more homes for sale than buyers in the market itself, which could push prices down and lead to longer time on the market. If you're thinking of selling in a buyer's market, you may not achieve the price you expect, and holding onto the property might be a better option. You also want to think about rental demand. If rental demand is high in your area, for example in cities with a growing job market or near universities, renting may provide you with a stable long-term source of income. Conversely, if rental demand is low, for example in areas with high vacancy rates, it might be harder to find tenants, leading to periods without rental income and potential property management headaches. You want to maximize your financial gains. So capital gains from selling is going to be a big thing. And in some cases, selling your home might be more financially beneficial, especially if your property values are high and you've seen substantial appreciation. If the market is strong, selling could help you unlock a large sum of cash to reinvest or use for other purposes. However, analyzing the local market allows you to assess whether the prices are at their peak or if they might rise further if you wait longer. You also want to think about rental income potential. If property values have recently increased and selling might result in a significant tax burden, such as the capital gains I mentioned, renting could be a way to continue earning passive income while deferring the sale. In markets where rental rates are rising, renting might provide a steady income stream that outpaces your mortgage or the other property expenses. But if rental yields are low, you might not be generating enough income to justify holding onto that property. Property appreciation and timing is also important. Let's talk about price appreciation and what that does. If your local real estate market is experiencing strong growth, holding onto the property and renting it out can allow you to benefit from continued price appreciation. Over time, the property's value may increase, and when the market shifts to a seller's market, you could sell for an even higher price. Market cycles are also key. Real estate markets typically operate in cycles. In some cases, selling at the right time, when home prices are at their peak, can maximize your return. On the other hand, if the market is on a decline, waiting to sell could result in lower profits, and renting until market conditions improve might be a smarter strategy. I highly recommend consulting with a real estate professional in your market who can provide guidance to you when analyzing your options. So let's go over a real life scenario of a client who's trying to see whether or not it makes sense to keep their property and rent it out or to sell the property. And the goal is to break down and analyze exactly how to make the decision. So the first thing we do is we're going to look at the home's equity. So this particular client of mine owes $300,000 on their home, and based on an online search, the home can be sold for $400,000. So this means they have $100,000 in equity. However, you want to keep in mind that you'll have to pay about 7% in closing costs as a property seller, which includes commission being paid to the realtors. So we take $400,000, we subtract that 7%, which is $28,000, and we're left with $372,000. And from there, we subtract what's owed on the home, which was $300,000, and we're left with $72,000. Now, this client lived in the home for 2 of the last 5 years, which has to do with capital gains. So they will not have to pay capital gains tax and get to walk away with the full $72,000 in a best case scenario. Now let's compare this to if they rented it out. Their monthly mortgage payment is $2,000 on the property. Local rental comps show it can be rented for about $3,000 per month. And since it's a single family home, the tenant will cover all of the utilities. So we take the $3,000 of monthly income and subtract the $2,000 mortgage payment, and it leaves $1,000 every month. So let's just say it's rented out for 3 years, which would mean that the rental income over 3 years would be about $36,000, not considering any sort of rental increases that come along every single year. This is the gross income. So you would need to subtract any maintenance and repairs done to the property, but there are other advantages dealing with tax savings and seller paying down the mortgage balance by about $30,000 over 3 years. So it's not all negative. Now, at the end of the 3 years, let's say they sell the property for $400,000, not factoring in that it's appreciated in value over that time period. We're just using the original value that we ran the quote on today to run our numbers. This means that by renting it out, they would receive $36,000 in cash flow minus any repairs, receive $30,000 in principal balance pay down by the renter of the property. They'll sell and make money, all while receiving a bunch of tax advantages on top of all of that. So if my client decides that being a landlord isn't for them, they can always just move forward and sell the home and make their $72,000. But they have all the other advantages of renting if they decide to do that as well. Since everyone's financial position and goal is different, I encourage you to seek professional assistance from a realtor, accountant, or financial planner when working through your own scenario. If you found this information helpful, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can continue educating yourself on real estate and mortgages, and make sure to leave a comment below if you have questions about your own scenario. I reply to 100% of the comments left on my videos.